Now let's so that's the end of our review of Rego. So let's quickly we're going to do one last little segment of this podcast before we close out this episode. And I want to get to it because I'm really excited about it. We're going to move into Kaiju Clash!
Kaiju Clash! Fight!
So for anybody who hasn't listened to a previous episode, it was like 2 weeks ago, we started a new segment where we put two giant monsters up against each other. One of us takes one side, one of us takes the other side. We debate a little bit, and then we let the listeners decide which one is the winner. And so the winner from that one, I talked about in a previous episode, but the winner from our previous Kaiju Clash was Baragon against Barugon. Barugon lost. The Rainbow Death Monster lost. But we talked about it might be more of a popularity thing than anything. But this time around, we've got another Toho versus Daiei situation. And I'm going to let you start this run because we're going to let the loser each time we do this, the loser of the previous one will start the next one. So we've got Biollante versus Legion.
Okay. All right. So I'm playing advocate for my girl, my homegirl, Biollante. And honestly, I'm going to say that Biollante is one of my favorite kaiju. I've even stated that I like her more than, say, other female kaiju. Like there's not a ton, but even Mothra. I like Mothra, but I think I like Biollante just a little bit more. Especially after reading some of the Matt Frank comics. But yeah, so for Biollante, one of her main abilities is regeneration, which comes from her being an adaptation or a mutation rather of Godzilla cells. And so she gets those regenerative abilities from those G cells. And I'm going to say that even though Legion has some really interesting attacks, I want to say that Biollante's regenerative abilities are gonna really help her out in this battle.
Yeah, well, let me I have done my research. So I said to you before we started this episode, I am going to bring it. So first and foremost, the Mother Legion, who is the version that I'm actually advocating for, is bigger than Biollante.
That's true.
She is 140 meters tall versus Biollante is 120 meters tall. She is super durable. In fact, she is able to withstand a frontal assault from the JSDF and resist Gamera's ultimate mana blast for several seconds before it finally consumes her. And that is Gamera's ultimate firepower. That is him absorbing all of the energy from the earth and fully blasting it straight at her, and she's still able to withstand it for a period of time. Right. Biollante takes damage from the human weapons and is susceptible to human weapons.
Mm-hmm.
One huge advantage that the Legion has over Biollante is her ability to fly. She has insect-like wings that give her the ability to fly despite her enormous size. She is more maneuverable and is able to travel and move faster than Biollante is able to. She has egg cases in her abdominal region that house soldier legions that she can dispatch at will. And she has a microwave shell, which she was able to use that attack to take out a chunk of Gamera's shell. Now, if anyone's familiar with Gamera films, Gamera's shell can take a beating from a lot of things, and Legion's attack was able to take a chunk out of it. She has what's called the red rod, which is able to burn even Gamera, sets him, burns him, which if you're familiar with Gamera films, he's mostly fireproof. He goes inside of volcanoes and lava on a regular basis. So he's pretty fireproof, and this was able to burn him. And it was so powerful that the only thing that Gamera could do, the only way Gamera was able to defeat Legion, was by absorbing the energy from the earth to survive. So Legion Mother is one bad mother. Full stop.
Excuse me. Are you off your soapbox yet? Yeah, are you done? Are you done? Okay. I felt like that was 10 minutes of my life I'm never going to get back again.
Hush. Hush.
But no, okay. So let me ask you. Yes, Legion is taller. Biollante's heavier. She's a hefty girl. But one thing that she does have that Legion does not have are these tentacles. And she has a lot of tentacles, some of them very deadly tentacles that can pierce even Godzilla's hide. And I would even venture to guess that could even pierce Gamera's hide as well. So let me ask you, yes, Legion can fly, but what good is flight when you're wrapped up in these vines and tentacles? You can't go anywhere. Biollante could easily wrap down long enough to just saturate her entire outer body and outer shell with this corrosive, nasty acid, basically just melting her down in real time. I mean, I don't see Legion being able to withstand that. Yes, Legion is very durable, but how durable can she possibly be from a corrosive acid that just basically melts anything that it touches?
But her exoskeleton was able to withstand, again, a full frontal attack from Gamera using all of the energy of the earth. And she was still able to withstand that for a short period of time. I don't think that corrosive acid is going to do any damage to her. And talking about the vines, those vines are not fireproof. We have proof of that in Godzilla versus Biollante, that the Biollante is not fireproof. And you know what Legion has? That red rod that can set things on fire and burn things.
Yeah, but those vines, Travis, can come from anywhere. You forget that basically Biollante is just this gigantic mutated Godzilla plant. And so plants have roots, and I'm safely assuming that she has those roots and those vines strategically placed under the Earth's surface that could spring up at any moment and catch Legion by surprise. I mean, Legion does have some very impressive attacks, but I'm going to say that out of the two monsters, Biollante is the most strategic. And although Biollante probably would have a very tough time against Legion's brute force attacks, ultimately, I want to say that Biollante's smarts and intelligence would win out. She would sustain some damage. I'm not going to say that she wouldn't sustain some damage, but her regenerating abilities. There we go. Coupled with sneak attacks and just being smarter than Legion, I'm going to have to give it to Biollante.
No, I think the raw power that Legion has is still going to overwhelm Biollante. Biollante was defeated just by Godzilla's atomic breath alone.
Well, hang on. Think about what you
that-
just said for a second. Godzilla's atomic breath. Now, if I remember correctly, then in that film and in the comics, Biollante is able to take several blasts from that very same atomic breath before finally succumbing to it.
Yeah, well, she has to transform into a spore state, which is basically just scatter her body out into this like pollen-like to be able to avoid attacks and everything. But ultimately, it is the radiation and the atomic breath that does her in.
I'm glad you.
It's not.
I'm glad you brought up
anything
that
special.
spore state, because that I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you, Travis, to set up that trap for yourself. So here's my theory. Say Legion unleashes her attack. Biollante puts up a good battle. You know, Legion is not. She's not dead, but she's hurt. So Legion appears to defeat Biollante. Biollante goes to her spore state, but regenerates, coming back as a brand new Biollante to bring in the death blow and just wear down Mother Legion even more. I don't see Mother Legion being able to withstand numerous regenerating Biollantes over and over and over for a long period of time. Eventually, that exoskeleton is going to wear down. It may take a while, but it's going to wear down. And that's one of the big advantages that Biollante has on her side.
Now, Legion has such powerful attacks that she could wipe out every individual cell and just burn every cell of Biollante. But talking about that spore state, the spore state that Biollante goes into, yes, she can avoid attacks using that, but she has to come back to solid state at some point to be able to attack. She cannot stay in that state forever. And I think that the raw power that Legion has, also the maneuverability, she is faster, she's quicker, she can fly, she can travel, she is more maneuverable, more powerful, and is able to withstand more firepower than Biollante ever was able to in her movie.
All right.
So
I don't want to spend all day and I don't want to get salty over it. So I tell you what, Travis, we're going to let the listeners and the fans decide who won this argument.
Yes. So if anybody agrees with me and has the correct answer, you can vote on. No. So we're going to post a poll on the Kaiju Groupie Facebook group and on our social medias on Twitter. And if you want to, you can vote to see which one of these female kaiju will reign supreme. And we will read out the results next week. So, that being said, we want to make sure that everyone knows that they can follow us on Twitter at Kaiju Weekly. You can also follow Michael at the Kaiju Groupie or at Kaiju Groupie 54 on Twitter. And you can also check out the Kaiju Groupie Facebook group. That is where you can see those polls that we're going to put up.